Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sunset Safari. And what a better way to start our day off than with this glorious giraffe bull. My name is Jamie. I have Andrew on camera with me this afternoon. It is very gently, I think my new word of the day is mizzling. I don't think it's a real word. It's a combination of really light drizzle and slightly cold temperatures. It's 23 degrees centigrade, which is about 73 degrees in Fahrenheit. And I think there's a chance that we might have to, at some point, start to put rain covers over our camera. We've already settled ourselves in with the dashboard cover to protect all of the equipment. But there is a chance that we could be needing to cover it up. And that, of course, is one of the joys of a live safari, is that you never know how your afternoon is going to go. But don't forget, we are live. We're here on the Djuma and Arathusa game reserves within the Sabi Sands Great Kruger National Park of South Africa. We're also interactive, so if you have any questions that you'd like to send through to us or any comments, you can do that on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@WildEarthTV. Where are you going, boy? It is starting to, this is not mizzle, this is drizzle. It's definitely starting to drizzle on us. Look at how beautifully dark that boy is. Combination of genetics and the natural aging process that causes giraffes to slowly go dark. You can see the pronounced knobs on his head, around his skull, as well as those bald ossicones, and that is what tells us that it is a male at first glance. Munching away in dignified silence. Try. His head is tucked away behind the marula. Now, the rain has taken me somewhat by surprise, and we need to pop a rain cover over the camera. So while we do that, let's head across to Scotty, who would like to say hello.
Good afternoon and welcome on board. My name is Scott, for those of you who may be joining for the first time, or who were watching on the weekend but didn't see my face. I've been down for the last 2 days with a mild earache, but I'm very happy to be back and on safari with all of you guys. I've got Vim on camera, and we've got Kirsty, who's getting some wind in her hair after being in the final control room for quite some time, quite a few consecutive days. And wherever we get a chance to, we like to get whichever staff members who don't get out into the bush as much as we do, out and alongside with us. Excited by the prospects of finding a female leopard this afternoon. She was seen this morning, and Brent got to spend about 2 hours with her before they lost her in a very thick area. And luckily enough, I went out a little bit later on to see if I could have any luck finding her, and we did in fact bump into her. There were some tiny little birds called rattling cisticolas that were rattling away, and they spotted her and helped us to find her. So that was a great bonus. But then we too lost her in some very thick bush alongside a riverbed, and when I went to go and examine if I could find any of her tracks in that riverbed, I nearly came across one of the worst animals to come across whilst walking in the bush, and that is an hippo. And it was lying up completely out of the water. There's no water anywhere nearby, just lying kind of in the shade. So that was a big fright and a good lesson to learn. And it's so easy to become complacent out here and take things for granted and think you know where animals will be and where dangerous encounters are most likely to arise from. And certainly finding a hippo lying in a dry riverbed in the middle of the day wasn't what I was expecting. And I was actually thinking of taking you guys back there to have a look at this hippo. So we'll be there in about 5 or 10 minutes, and it is also the last place where we did see the leopard, so a good place to be lurking about. We've also got a whole bunch of people in the final control room now, and a lot of you would have heard us speaking to Bernie over the radios, one of the landowners here in the north, and he's brought some friends and family to have a look exactly what goes down. So hello everyone, and I'm sure you are blown away by all the machines and equipment in there. It really is a remarkable operation, and I often try and remind everyone that if it wasn't for the technical wizards involved that connect all this crazy electronic equipment up to these vehicles and somehow get them to work out a way to send a signal across to you wherever you're sitting in your home, we wouldn't be enjoying these wonderful safaris. So well done to our tech team as always. Now there is a bit of drizzle, so drizzle we can handle, but VM may have to wipe the screen of the camera every now and then. That's nothing too serious, and I guess one of the enjoyable things about being part of a live safari, you don't miss anything. You hear every step of the way for the moments of glory and for the moments of less glory, like VM is getting ready for. He's busy unrolling his special paper that he is going to wipe the lens with in preparation for the buffaloes that we've just come across. And once we stop moving, it typically doesn't fill the lens up with as much liquid, but hopefully the drizzle just stays like this and it doesn't get too much stronger. We will have to retreat to safe ground if the rain does persist. Awesome. Well, as you can see, not much is going to bother these guys by the looks of things for this afternoon. And when they are lying down, they are very often chewing the cud simultaneously. As you can see, a few oxpeckers jumping around their backs looking for a meal. Thanks very much to James Taylor and Raisa for sending your thoughts about my sore ears. They are much better. I promise you, 2 days ago I thought my head was going to explode, and thank you very much for your kind words and many, many more. We sadly can't list all of the names there, but thank you so much. And also thank you to Jamie and Brent, who did the majority of the drives, or did all the drives while I was sick, and to the rest of the crew who were so supportive of me, running around me. I have my own private team of nurses and doctors. So 4 big bulls, 2 up, 2 down. The one on the left VM is busy doing some horn polishing over there. And as you can see, he's kind of rubbing his horns up into this magic guari plant, and they'll do this to make sure that they keep little insects called horn borer moths off their horns, or at least they'll try their best to, and the larvae of the horn borer moths will actually feed on the horn, thus weakening it and also causing pain if they break off, which sometimes is the case. So kind of chewing the cud as well as looking after themselves, kind of stopping it at the local health hydro, you could say. Oh, he's scratching under his ears, and if he keeps his head still for a second, you'll actually see all the bright red bits of bark in the horn that he's rubbed off over time. And lots of the trees in this area have got kind of bright red tannins, so there's often a reddish tint in the dung or on the horns of animals that feed on them or rub themselves up against them. Hello to Gilly in Milwaukee, and I said we were going to be taking you to a hippo before we bumped into these buffalo, and Gilly seems to think that Peter in the pan, where we've got a 24-hour-a-day live waterhole camera, doesn't seem to have moved and is concerned that he may be dead. Gilly, don't worry, I don't think he is dead. I'm highly confident that he isn't. But if he is, don't worry, we would pull him out of the water so that he did not cause it to stagnate and become undrinkable for the other animals. So we would in all likelihood do that. I wouldn't be the one that makes that decision though, the landowner of Djuma would, but I'm guessing that in all likelihood that is what he would do. But who knows, maybe he wouldn't, and it's not often that I have been in a situation where a hippo has died in a pond and does need to be pulled out. But I think it did happen somewhere nearby quite recently, and it is the logical thing to do. We try as much as possible to not interfere with nature, but with something like that, I think it's definitely kind of the common sense thing to do. I'm just going to drive around these buffalo to allow them to stay here, and I'm really excited to continue the search for this female leopard. And thankfully though, on the way we're going to get to show you this big hippo. Well, actually maybe we'll just stop here for a second. This is such a nice view of them. You can literally see straight into the one on the right's mouth as it's chewing. Imagine re-chewing food that you've already chewed on. That's what he's doing. And I'm told those of you who were on Jamie's vehicle this morning were joining up music or certain artists with different animals, and which animals would listen to which different artists or musics. And I came in and suggested that the big buffalo bulls would listen to reggae, and I'm fairly certain Bob Marley is the main artist that is ringing through their heads as they sit here chewing the cud. I love the way the oxpeckers, those little birds, manage to clamber around their bodies so effectively. You may have seen that one digging around in the ear there. There's quite a few actually on the closer buffalo VM I've just noticed here. Maybe we can try and keep an eye on them. There's a young chick, it's about to get fed. Oh, it did get fed. Awesome. Look at it begging. There's 2 chicks. And the adult was clever enough to find a tick, pluck it off for the youngster there. It's trying to feed another one. It's got, I think the adults are, I'm losing track of what's what now. Anyway, VM's doing a great job on camera because he is still where he needs to be. I'm not. And 2 young chicks. They're probably fledged in the last week or so. I mean, it's just a guess, but it's early on in the season. Looks like that one still may have something in its beak or something stuck on its beak, that one chick. And huge competition between the 2 chicks, and that is often how nature can be harsh, and sometimes they'll get to a point where they actually outcompete one another to death, not necessarily with oxpeckers, but certainly with the birds of prey. A lot of the eagles and falcons will give birth to 2 young, but the one that hatches first will outcompete the other. That's not the case here, but maybe there was a 3rd chick that just couldn't keep up with these 2 that we're seeing here now. Awesome stuff. Well, at least the birds are doing well, and we're still trying to find a bird's nest that we can actually monitor very closely. We did do okay with the lilac-breasted roller nest, but didn't actually get to see the chicks fledge. I'm fairly confident that they were very big when I last did see them, but it would be great if we can find a nest that we can monitor closely. Oh, great, look here, Yellowbilled Oxpecker. I haven't seen one in ages. Oh, it just flew away, but we're going to get another view. Look at how much yellow's on its beak. It's also a little bit bigger than the red-billed oxpecker. This is awesome. And there seems to be a lot more around at this time of the year. It's quite bizarre because I know Jamie had a sighting the other day. I think there have been quite a few sightings called in. But I think this is only the 2nd time in the whole year that I've been here that I've managed to show you the yellow-billed oxpecker. Awesome. The name can be a bit deceiving because, as you can see, there's a lot of red on that beak. Right at the end, but kind of 50-50, whereas the red-billed is entirely red. What a bonus. And here VM's come to give you the exact difference. Well done, VM, thank you. You can see how there's absolutely no yellow on the beak, just a little bit around the eyes. It looks like one of the young Oxpecker chicks was trying to take a dust bath there. It's going to battle because the road's getting quite moist with all this drizzle. So it's not going to be the dustiest of baths. It'll actually be more of a mud bath if it continues. So happy. Oh, we just got another view. Sorry, VM, as you started to zoom out, but we have just got another view of, had a brief view at least, of that yellow-billed oxpecker. There it is. Sometimes it's just nice to stop and listen for a while and watch what's going on. And we've just got a question through from Ashley while we were sitting and waiting, and she's watching in Durban, and she'd like to know a little bit more about chewing the cud and why exactly do the buffalo do it and how does it all work. Well, Ashley, they've essentially got a 4-chambered stomach, and the first, second and third chambers will bring back food towards the mouth, so that way they'll make sure it goes from the first chamber back into the mouth to be rechewed before it goes into the second chamber. And essentially all it's doing is it's better breaking down the grass, therefore allowing the digestive tract to better absorb all the nutrients. So they're essentially regurgitating food back into their mouth that they have already fed on, and they've got a massive stomach that contains all of this grass, or 4 of them, but it equates to a very large amount of rumen, which is chewed on plant matter that they ruminate with. And yes, it's basically just to make sure that they've got a very effective digestive system, more effective than elephants and hippo and rhino, who don't break down their food nearly as well. So this means they have to spend less time feeding and more time lying around like this, just making sure they process what they have fed on far better than the other animals. They're going to be loving this weather. The drizzle is building up quite a lot at the moment. It'll be hard for you to see, I think, but it is gaining in intensity. Cool. Well, let's see if this hippo is still lying up nearby. The leopard, I fear, may be quite far from where we saw her this morning, because it has been so cool. And even in the hot weather, I've been astounded by how far leopards will move during the course of the day. It's a common myth that leopards are not daytime animals. They are more likely to be active at night because it's cooler in this area, and it also can be beneficial to hunt at night because they have the cover of darkness, but they certainly do move far more than lions in this area during the summer months, during the heat of the day. We're going to need to wipe our lens again. It's getting soaked up, so we're going to send you across to Jamie for a quick update, and hopefully the next time you see us, we'll have that hippo ready and waiting for you.
As Scotty was saying, there's a very good chance that Karula's been on the move sometime in between the drives. So I've come to where Scott last saw her at the end of the sunrise safari. I'm trying to see if we can figure out which way she might have gone. Now, being Karula, she is unpredictable anyway, but I think she was also, from what Brent described, she was also hunting. So her movements could be potentially very unpredictable. I'm not sure whether she's headed down towards the drainage line or back in the same direction she came from. We're just going to keep our eyes peeled as much as we can through the drops of rain upon our eyelashes. I'm sure that she's here somewhere. And every now and again, Andrew is going to give the screen a wipe. fair enough, my introduction this afternoon, with our wonderful male giraffe was slightly curtailed due to our rush to put the rain cover on the car. But Cindy in North Carolina, you were wondering if I could explain that whole process again about how to tell the difference between male and female giraffes. So the easiest way is the most obvious way, and it is pretty obvious on giraffe. Their testicles are clearly visible, unlike, for example, say, hippo or elephant, where they're internal. Giraffes are fairly easy to see, but of course when you're looking through thick bush, the chances are you're going to be looking at a giraffe's head. So what you've got to do then is look at the horns on its head. And those horns are, their official name is an ossicone or an ossicle, depending on the book you read, but mainly an ossicone. Now on male giraffes, the ossicones are very thick, very broad, almost cylindrical in shape, and the top of them is bald, so the hair has been rubbed off, and that comes from using them as a weapon against other male giraffes. So the way that they swing their necks around and hit each other with their heads, they use those as their main fighting tool. The females are much thinner and slightly more pointed towards the top, and they're covered in tufts of black hair. They don't have the same bald patches around the top. The other way to tell with mature giraffe bulls, if you look at their heads, apart from their ossicones, there's very prominent bones in the middle of their forehead, just above their eyes, as well as just behind the ossicones. You also get bony protrusions, and those serve the same purpose as the ossicones, so a way of adding an extra level to their male dominating weaponry. And watching giraffe fight, when they do seriously fight, sometimes they do it for fun, and for practice it's known as necking, but watching them have a really serious fight between each other is incredible to see. Doing a quick windscreen wipe. So with all of that momentum, if you think that that skull easily weighs 12 kilograms, easily, probably more, so that's about 24, 25 odd pounds, if not up to 30 pounds in weight. Then you put it on the end of a 3-meter long neck, very muscular, and add that to the momentum of its swinging. You can just imagine the incredible impact that those heads have when they really seriously challenge each other. And I'm sure many of you will have seen that incredible slow motion footage of a giraffe fight in Namibia, where you can see the ripples of the impact along the giraffe as they fight each other. Awesome to see. Hello, buffalo. Are you attempting to shelter from the rain? We are, of course, rejoicing in the fact that it is drizzling upon us. We're in desperate need of some rain. And this adds an extra layer of poor old Andrew's workload, because he's now got to act as screen wiper as well. Hello, boys. Oh, we have a new viewer, or questions coming through at least for the first time, from Mr. F. Style, who was wondering about the oxpeckers that sit on the buffalo that Scott was looking at. The one's just flown across, oh shame, lying down, facing the rainy afternoon ahead. Hey boys. So there's an oxpecker sort of on the left of your screen, in the middle there. Mr. F. Style was wondering why it is that the animals permit those birds to live on them. And the reason behind that, of course, is that they do perform either a helpful or a harmful service. And they're actually very persistent. So for the most part, one of those birds in one day can eat 1,000 ticks. Now, speaking from experience, having a tick infestation is incredibly unpleasant. They itch terribly. and sometimes their bites do carry diseases. So having a bird on you that will help remove the ticks is a useful thing when you don't have thumbs to help you do it yourself, especially in those hard to reach places like ears or around the tail end. So they are actually helping the animal out. It's only when the animal has an open injury or an open wound that it becomes less pleasant, because then they keep it open, because they don't just feed on ticks, they'll eat blood and mucus as well. And if you watch buffaloes like this, Shane, you've got an itchy nose. Speaking of itchy ticks and parasites, I think he might have a tick inside a nostril there. Having a serious scratch. Sometimes when you watch them, the animal might be patient and let an oxpecker into its ear or around its eyes, but for the most part they tend to get irritated at that point and shake their heads and shake their bodies to get rid of the oxpeckers. So it's a bit of a balancing act, a harmful and a helpful service that the oxpeckers provide. Hello, boy. Was that a good itch? Nope, still not done. Now around the eyes. And that stick is the perfect height for him. Actually the perfect shape to get right at those itchy patches on the forehead. And of course it's not just ticks. Buffalo do occasionally get mange and funguses that grow on their skin and make bald patches, as well as things like fleas and other slightly smaller parasites. And whenever he finishes scratching, then he gives his nose a good lick and has a good yawn. Still not done. Hey boy, what's on your nose that's so irritating? And the other way that buffalo will seek to ease these itchy patches is to find a nice mud wallow and coat themselves in thick sticky mud, and then find a tree or a log, something that they can then rub themselves off on in a way that catches the ticks and removes them when they get trapped in the sticky mud. Oh, there's some serious rain building up over there. I've just had a look. It's this drizzle, I think, is set in for the afternoon. It's definitely on its way to us, and I think it might be time for Andrew and myself to start heading towards home. We're quite far out already, so I'm going to leave these buffalo and start heading back. We do carry a tremendous amount of, oh shame, they're all scratching their faces and their eyes. Now we do carry an incredible amount of expensive equipment, and it's all electronic, so obviously we don't want to risk damaging anything in the rain. But this is really happy news, especially for animals just like these buffalo. We've been in the grips of the most terrible drought, and the meteorologists are predicting that it's only going to get worse. So any rain that we can get is hugely welcome, even if it comes at a slight inconvenience to us. We're really thrilled to finally, it's been threatening for days. So to actually have this rain here is a hugely welcome relief. Even if it means that Andrew and myself are slightly damp and a bit soggy. Okay, buffalo, enjoy your afternoon of drizzle. I'm going to start heading back towards covered parking. Oh, thank you, New 11th Division. I'm glad you agree with us that we'd rather have some rain and have to cut the safari short. Oh, I found a hole. Andrew looking back in a slightly concerned manner. just a little hole, just a little bump. It just came as a rather unexpected surprise. But yes, we would much rather have the rain. It has been so dry. Many of our regular viewers know what Buffelshoek Dam is looking like. When I started working here, we had a sighting where a full-grown elephant was submerged in that dam. It is now almost completely empty. There's a couple of stagnant, muddy, I wouldn't even call them puddles, just stagnant mud. All of the fish have died. So the fact that we are getting a little bit of relief from this is hugely welcome. Doing some very rapid calculations as to my fastest way home. Maybe it wasn't my brightest idea to come as far away from camp as possible. Sean Holder in Secunda was wondering about the habit of giraffe, which is known as osteophagia, which is eating bones, and was wondering why giraffe needs so much calcium in their diet. Well, the answer to that is actually it's not just giraffe, it's all animals, and particularly at this time of year, the nutrients are not coming through as strongly as they should in the plant material that they're eating. So all of the animals are supplementing. Now, we can go into the sort of the in-depth biology of it, but essentially in all mammalian bodies, the way that your nerve cells transmit messages from, say, sensory to motor or whatever, at the synapses or at the connections, one of the chemicals that carries that nerve impulse uses calcium as part of that whole process. So calcium is always a necessary part in anybody's diet. And then of course for maintenance of things like bones and teeth. Right, well we're going to race back towards DRC as rapidly as humanly possible. And in the meantime, Scott is set up under the roof, so head across to him. I'll be back with you very shortly.
Well, we couldn't resist but stop on the way to shelter. The 3 young wildebeest calves within this herd have been running around chasing one another very playfully. Let's keep an eye on this one. This one seems to be doing the 360 move where it lies down and then stands up and does a kind of quick 360 on the spot before chasing its friends around. Oh, no, VM's found the others, and here they go. It's so much fun watching them, and it's incredible that you can still see their little umbilical cords, yet they have the ability to run around and have such good coordination over their body after being on the planet for probably no longer than a week. I think was when the first wildebeest calf was born to this herd. Sadly, half of the known population of calves born to this herd have already been killed by 2 lionesses on one evening. So there's only 3 remaining out of the initial 6. Now there's something quite interesting going on a little bit further to the left, and it looks like one of the adults, which is just laid down there, is having a bit of a dust bath. And it's probably them rejoicing the rains, and any moisture they get now will put them in a good mood. They'll know that this is going to create fresher, greener grass for them to feed on. And it really is awesome to see the young animals out here being so playful, even though there are so many threats around. By them playing like this, they're actually teaching themselves some incredible skills. The art of escaping one another whilst playing around is going to aid them greatly in escaping predators when they grow older. But if you think of how long it takes us as humans to learn how to walk, let alone run, I think we need to commend these young wildebeest for their aptitude and speed of learning. I'm hoping they're going to do one more frolicking run for us. There's 2 Egyptian geese in the foreground looking for a snack. What's interesting is that the individual that was following this young calf would have been born this time last year. Its horn sticks straight up out the side of its head, and from here they'll start kind of pushing out sideways from the ears, if that makes any sense. So not vertically, but growing out horizontally. And it was following that calf quite closely. Another 2 birds that you'll see there are hardy-dar ibises, and they've got those long beaks that they probe into the earth looking for worms and crickets. They'll also be enjoying the moisture and the softer soil. Well, it seems like the small playtime for the young wildebeest calves has come to an end. Let's give it a moment or two. The rain is still coming down on us. I guess it's difficult to call rain. It's more drizzle than rain, but it's a thick mist, and we are getting blanketed in moisture here, which, as I'm sure all of you understand, does not bode well for the technology involved. Yeah, it looks like VM might have to get his special windscreen wipers out again. Oh no, Gilly in Milwaukee was concerned that Peter the hippo may be dead. So, we can confirm for you now that he is in fact full of joy and wide awake, in a far better position than the other hippo, who we did get a glimpse of in the riverbed, but it was at a point where the rain was coming down too hard and we decided to race back. So we have been feeling sorry for him, but there are some hippo who cannot even defend a small body of water like this. Tough times. Very, very tough times. And as VM zooms out, I'm going to ask him just to pan slightly to the right to show you what is usually the Vuyatela waterhole, and it's just that expanse of black mud up ahead here. This used to be filled with water when I arrived here this time last year, and there were many hippos. I think 6 or 7 that used to live in there. But now, bone dry. So despite the green you can see, despite the moisture you can see building on the lens, it is a very harsh time of year here in the Sabi Sands. Not harsh time of year, it's a kind of harsh cycle we're going through, and it's a drought cycle. So it's been several years, probably more than 5 or 6, since this area did experience a drought or drought-like conditions, and this is the next one that's been kind of forecast. Obviously many different theories as to when we will be getting our next decent rain. Some people say March next year, which will be very late. I mean, our summer would have come and gone, and a blisteringly hot summer without any moisture is going to leave this area barren. Bye-bye, wildebeest. Look after your babies tonight. Oh, another traffic jam. And I'm just going to show you a quick glimpse of these impala and all their babies, and then send you across to Jamie for her to say goodbyes. But thank you so much for joining in. Sorry we have to call it short, but the weather is just not doing it in our favor this afternoon, but it is in the favor of all these little herbivores. Their mothers are going to get fresher food and produce better milk, and this moisture is much needed. Even though it's not much, it's going to certainly contribute to the well-being of all these little critters. but it is not going to contribute to the well-being of our equipment that keeps you with us on safari. So again, thank you very much for joining. Sorry it's a short one. Well done, VM on camera, and we're going to send you across to Jamie for a quick update on how she's doing, and she can also say goodbye.
I think it emphasizes the point. Not cleaning, I mean... Well, we are enjoying as to the fact that we have got rain happening, but unfortunately for us it does mean a return to our camp so that we can keep all of our equipment safe and our cameramen fit and healthy, since the presenters seem to be failing at that quite spectacularly. And I'm sure you'll all agree that it is absolutely worth it, just so that the animals out here can get some relief, especially with all of those new mothers and little babies, and of course poor old Peter the hippo could use a little bit more in the way of water. So ladies and gentlemen, I'll say a very big thank you and a farewell on our slightly shortened sunset safari. Hopefully it will rain hard overnight and we'll have a nice clear day tomorrow for the sunrise safari. Have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Cheers for now.